Burnout does not always look like a breakdown. Sometimes it can also look like a high functioning autopilot.
Burnout is like a internal battery which is flashing red and we are ignoring it. It's saying that it's time to disconnect instead of putting me on the charge again.
Like advertising, the industry is full of stress, long hours. You're basically a slave to the organization.
Yeah, now it has become a 5B concept. The first one that the B stands for is
All right, everyone. Now, some of us have experienced this. You're showing up to work, you are meeting deadlines, and it seems like on paper you're absolutely fine. But when, that Zoom call ends, you close your laptop and then you stare at the wall and you think, I'm exhausted. Even though you haven't really done anything that intense. It happened very recently. My friend told me, I'm not tired, but I don't feel like myself either. They're still showing up to work, they're still getting things done, but something just feels off. You feel less patient, less motivated, and even small tasks feel heavier than usual. So, what I'm trying to say with this whole thing is that burnout does not always look like a breakdown or shutting down or taking sick leave, right? Sometimes it can also look like a high functioning autopilot, if that makes sense. It may look like you're a very high performer, but there's no joy behind it. You're functioning, absolutely, yes, but you're also slowly detaching from your work. Hi, everybody. I'm Anika Datta, director of Sanjeev Datta Personality School and a psychologist specializing in organizational behavior. And in this episode, we're talking about burnout. Not in the dramatic breakdown way, but the silent, gradual kind that most professionals live with for years without even realizing it. And I'm not alone in this. I've also got our director coach leaders with us. And these are professionals who've led teams, coached leaders, and worked with clients across industries. Today, I would like to unpack with them what burnout actually is and isn't, why it shows up even when you love your work, how can we recognize early signs before it hits your health or your motivation or your relationships? And most importantly, I would like to discuss some tried and tested strategies to be able to combat burnout. And if you have been feeling a little low grade tired, then stay with us. This conversation might actually help you connect the dots. Let's start with our first question, panelists. What does burnout actually feel like? And how do you know you're not just tired or bored? I'm going to start with Amit.
hello everyone. I'm Amit. I work in the GRC domain of IT side, that is defining governance, risk, and compliance. Currently, I'm working with a Danish pharmaceutical company on the IT side of it. That's a
Okay.
great question that you have asked, Anika. Right? So, if you ask the definition from me, a burnout is physical, emotional, or mental exhaustions, and that happens due to a prolonged stress.
Hmm.
And believe me, I was wearing it as a badge of dedication. I found that some of my colleagues do still do that, feeling that burnout is a badge of dedication, which is not actually. Its
Mhm.
prevention is a strength, and that I have realized over a period of time. So before I start, I will like to start with a quote that reminds me about the burnout. And it goes like this: you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Burnout is not a sign of dedication, it's a signal to pause, protect, and prioritize your well being. And this single statement says all about it. And if you ask me an analogy for it, I will compare it with a battery. And burnout is like a internal battery which is flashing red and we are ignoring it. It's saying that it's time to disconnect instead of putting me on the charge again. And it keeps blinking and making sound that I'm red now. Please take care of it. That's a definition from my side with respect to burnout, Anika.
That's wonderful. And I think that encapsulates the concept so beautifully. And Amit brought up such a nice point, and I've seen that in so many workplaces. Maybe you have as well, that the idea that stress is just part of the job. You're taught to push through it. And even when the body starts reacting, we call it acidity or sleep issues, and we carry on. But I want to ask, why do we ignore those early signs? Why do so many smart, capable professionals let burnout build up until something actually breaks when the battery shows red, right? Whether it's their health, motivation, or relationships. I think it's also because in the Indian format, especially, perhaps even in the Western format, as Amit said, you're taught to wear, that burnout, the hustle, the being busy like a batch. You're taught to equate like kind of toughness with silence. And if you're tired, you push through. If you're overwhelmed, you smile and call it being busy. And especially in high achieving environments, startups, corporates, even education, I feel like, as Amit said, burnout becomes a badge. You're praised for sleeping 4 hours in a day or always being available. So what happens? We just don't pause. We keep normalizing dysfunction. And until it starts showing up as like irritability or health issues or just simply disengagement, right? I completely agree with that, Amit. Thank you so much. Let's go to Ms. Gayatri and see what she has to say about defining burnout. What does it look like?
Thank you, Anika. Hello, everybody. I'm Gayatri Balan. I've spent a big part of my adult life in Dubai. My career has been in advertising, corporate advertising, and I started my own production house as well, which ran through successfully for 10 years. And now I'm training to be a trainer in different aspects of life. So my like advertising, the industry is full of stress, long hours. You're basically a slave to the organization. And that is expected. You sign up for it. Yeah. And your growth, your career ladder, everything depends on how much of a slave you're wanting to be. How committed are you to be a slave? That's the theme.
Yeah.
And having spent a big part of my career life in advertising, what I've understood personally from burnout is it's like an addiction, and it can also be lack of interest,
Hmm.
stressful, exhaustion, frustration. And I think it increases as well the more you talk about it to other people that are complaining, kind of accelerates the burnout more than the burnout itself.
Mhm.
So, what my key takeout from this would be is one is to acknowledge that you're probably getting there, and it could affect your mental health and your physical health as well. Affects your mental health in a huge way, and eventually your physical health. So one is to acknowledge what we were discussing in our earlier conversation at the panel was to one is to acknowledge that, I'm probably getting into some sort of trouble here, and then to take action. So what
Mhm.
things work for X, Y, or Z person may not work for you. So you need to recognize what's going to work for you and then take action and prioritize, because burnout can basically it's very addictive and very negative. So I think you need to recognize and get out of it. I try to find some sort of balance and find solutions on how you're going to de-stress, whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anika.
What you said reminds me a lot. I think it's a complete different tangent, but I think it fits here. When we first moved to Toronto, we ran into a cab driver. He was from Punjab, and he said, "Oh, so where do you guys live?" We were chatting it up in general, just because it was a longer ride. And he said, "Well, we're from Toronto. Where are you from?" He said, "Someplace." And I was like, "Why did you never settle in Toronto?" He's like, "Toronto, meetha zahar hai." Sweet poison, which means it draws you in, the city draws you in, and it's so expensive, and it's just so many problems related to the city, but you can never leave because it's such a good city. I think sweet poison, burnout. That's what I take away from that. I'm sorry for the
Yeah.
tangent. But you're absolutely right, Gayatri. And I've seen this a lot in our work with professionals as well. And it can sound as simple as, I'm getting things done, but I feel disconnected. These are some early signs that you need to start recognizing. You can say, I used to love this work, but now it drains me. Those are some early signs that you're probably hitting your burnout stage. Let's open it up to Mr. Hemant and let's see what he has to say.
Thank you, Nika, for giving me the opportunity. According to me, burnout is something which is emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion, which is usually prolonged with excessive stress and thoughts keep on repeating, going on in our heads. While often it is associated with workplace, but also we can see that we are also having burnout in our personal lives, which could be due to various things, which could be due to caregiving to our parents or elders or managing kids. So burnout can come out through various sources. How we navigate through it is something which we all have to learn and overcome. Few tips could be like getting rest, planning ahead, scheduling. So all these things help us to overcome burnout. That's a thought
Lovely.
I have for sharing it today.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have. Where is Anise? Okay, there he is. Go for it, my friend.
Thank you, Anika, and good morning, everyone. I'm Anis Sen, and I work in the fraud detection and fraud identification industry. I have over 23 years of work experience working with global clients and vendors equally. My thought about burnout is we don't often recognize that we're getting burned out. Until the time you don't acknowledge, you don't recognize, you can't work on it. So it keeps building on, as Amit rightly mentioned. The reason why you don't recognize is it's you carrying it as a flag of dedication. So that's how you're supposed to be. If you are not like this, then you're probably not very professional. You are finding faults. And it's so inbuilt within us that we
Mhm.
fail to recognize that there is a problem. And because we don't recognize, we don't work on it till the time it has reached a limit where you don't feel like opening your laptop on the Monday morning. So how you work on it? Well, one thing that I was sharing with the panelist prior to this call is talking to yourself. That's the very first thing that I do. And it's not so much about the workload that stresses you. You're probably meant to have a certain amount of workload on your plate. And nowadays, it's good to have your plates full rather than half full. So it's the office politics often that I would say you get drawn into. It takes a lot out of you, and that puts a lot of stress. So when you talk, or rather, that's how I do. When I talk to myself, it
Mm.
helps me take stock of things. It helps me figure out why I'm feeling the way I'm doing. What's hurting me? Why is it that this work doesn't interest me anymore? Is it just the monotonous aspect of it? Or am I looking for something interesting that is not happening? Or is something more? Is it the
Mm.
human to human relationship in the workspace? And I'm focusing on the work at this moment, not so much on the personal life.
Mhm.
So when I talk, I break it down into small segments and then I try to address them. It's not that I'll be able to address each one of them myself. I may need expert advice in certain cases. Um, but most of the times I should be able to uh, de-stress and handle it myself by talking
Mm.
to myself. That's the approach that I take.
100%. And that aligns completely with what Gayatri was also saying, that it is about self awareness. It is about telling yourself, hey, it looks like I am burnt out. And it can show up as, maybe emotional flatness. You stop feeling the highs and lows of your life and you're just kind of existing. Even when good things happen, you don't feel them. That actually did happen to a friend of mine. Cognitive fog, you start rereading emails, you struggle to prioritize, you start second guessing everything, you start feeling that decision fatigue, every morning. Or in a worst case scenario, you might just be resentful and detached, and you start feeling bitterly about the people that you work with or people or work that you used to enjoy earlier, right? So the tricky part is, as Anis said, that, most professionals push through these signs because they think, okay, I have to earn my rest. I should be able to handle this. But ultimately, we know that burnout is not about stamina, it is about misaligned energy. Doing too much of what drains you and not doing enough of what fuels you and makes you and fills your cup. Right. So I think that's how we can probably end this topic and segue into our second part, which is what are some real world doable ways to recover from or prevent burnout? And that is especially when you can't afford to slow down. You can't just quit your job and go on a vacation. We know that. So, what are some real world ways that you have all used in your personal lives to recover from or prevent burnout? I'm going to go to Miss Sumi. I don't see her. Miss Sumi, can you raise your hand for me, please? Okay, there she is. Go for it. What are your strategies?
Thanks a lot for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it. I am Dr. Sumi Tinkar. I have around 26 years of experience in research and development and 10 years of experience in sports field. So that's the unique combination of experience I have with more than 40 patents and dozens of award in corporate segment. With that, it was an interesting question, and as most of the panelists spoke about, there are two aspects, right? One is physical, another one is emotional. That leads to the mental stress. That's what is burnout is all about. With my exposure and experience, where there was a very high physical exhaustion when I was working on sports, and there is high very high emotional stress when it comes to developing or innovating a new ideas or a new aspects to the organization. So that is what leads to the most of the mental stress, which is really results either in terms of a pain. That is what we foresee. And if you can start testing and analyzing and ensuring, okay, this is what is causing me a pain. And if you start working around that and start building a pleasure, which is very, very essential part of our life, that can really change the entire dimension of burnout. So that is what which we generally don't look at, especially when we start our career, because you are with the full energy and you have been brought up in an environment where, as you are rightly saying, that work hard, right? We never look at it as how work smartly. So that is the most important aspect. I think we should sit back and really understand what is that we need to do, which can give us much more fruits than working hard, right? Working hard is important, but it should not lead to the physical exertion that and causes the emotional stress. That can be a detrimental when you really walk you through your career. Earlier you analyze and start working on it, better it is for every professionals.
For sure. I mean, smart work. And, we can also call it kind of energy budgeting, right? Just like you kind of budget your money, you start budgeting your emotional, mental, physical energy so that you know what drains you, you know what fuels you, what makes you feel better, and how you can plan your day accordingly to work smartly, not just work like a donkey. Right? So I think that's a great concept. And I think let's go to Amit. Amit came up with an amazing, what was it, Gayatri, 5B concept? We'd
Yeah,
love to
it's
hear more about that. And I'm
now
also
it
going to
has become
unmute
a
Gayatri if she has any further thoughts. Go ahead, Amit, tell us.
yeah, now it has become a 5B concept. Thanks to Sanjeev sir, Gayatri and Mithun. Gayatri gave the fourth one and Mithun gave the fifth one, of the 5Bs. And
Yeah.
here it goes like this. The first one that the B stands for is to take breaks. And that really helps you to recharge your mind. And
Mhm.
why it is important? Because mental fatigue kills creativity and performance. And how I have practiced it is follow a 50-10 rule. That is 50 minutes of work and 10 minutes of break. So suppose we are having a meeting back to back for 2-3 hours, then I make sure that the meeting schedule is just for 50 minutes. And we get 10 minutes to rejuvenate ourselves. So I go out for a coffee with colleagues, or just when I'm walking across to washroom, I have a glass of water before I go there. So first B is take breaks. The second one that we came about is second B is for bonding. Connect to yourself and to others. And why it is important? Because loneliness and disconnection fuel burnouts. And how do I put it into practice? Is number one, whenever I'm taking 10 minutes break, I make sure that I have a talk with someone closer to me. The second one is I don't go to lunch alone. I go with my colleagues or teammates. And there we don't talk about work at all. It's just personal chit chats that we do. Third thing that you can do is to have a meaningful conversation with someone close to you. Maybe you can go to cafe with one of your close friend and talk about life in general or something that interests you when you are talking with someone. Don't talk about work. That's number 2 for you. The number 3 is set boundaries. And I heard Kanika talking about it earlier as well. So why it is important is it protects your energy, conserve your energy. And how I do it? Well, say no politely. When you know that your plate is already full, say no politely. In a way that doesn't sound that you are saying no to the work, but you are saying no to the work at that point of time because your plate is already full. The second one that I practice is complete shutdown after 8 p.m. And this is known by everyone in my professional boundaries that after 8, I'm available only on call, and that too only for emergencies, not for regular works. So I post the other things that come past 8 p.m. for the next day. It includes not searching for email notifications as well. And the fourth one that Gayatri actually came up is to breathe consciously. Have whenever you are breathing, breathe it on a conscious basis. And that helps you to regain calm and focus. And we practice it in our sessions as well, where we actually do 4-4-4. Four times of inhalation, 4 times, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale it for 4 seconds. And that helps. Or you can have 2 minutes of break post your lunch as well. And the fifth one that Mithun gave is B for burning calories. Move to reset. That's where he talked about exercise, importance of exercise to clear your mental clutters and improve the mood. So I make sure that I exercise for almost 20 to 30 minutes each day. And that can include different things to break the monotonous. So 3 days I will go for high intensity workout, 2 days I will go for dance, and 1 day for yoga. And that happens randomly. I don't have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for high intensity workout, then randomly infuse them in between. And that actually helps. And this has actually helped me to overcome the burnouts that I was wearing as a badge earlier to now as a, proud to say that I'm actually know the techniques to prevent them. Thank you.
That's beautifully put. Well done. And just to let everybody know, this is a proprietary concept that all of us came up with. I mean,
Yeah.
Amit, Gayatri, I believe it was Marina as well. Am I right?
Marina.
Mithun.
Marina and
Marina,
Midhun.
correct.
And these are people in our class, and they came up with this concept when we were discussing burnout. And that's something that is very unique to all of us. That's wonderful. Okay, Gayatri, you had some amazing points yesterday to talk about how you deal with burnout. How would you suggest we go about it?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, a big part of my life was stress-filled and full of burnouts. And when there was this inner voice that kept telling me, you need to take a back seat, you need to take stock, like somebody else mentioned, take stock of what's going on in your life. So you've achieved all your goals to a degree. Now, what else? Now, there is something, a big part is missing. So that was a acknowledgement that I had to do. that I was forced to do that, acknowledge that there is something else you need to add to your life. It can't be just this. So, and like you said, Anika, that we can't just quit our jobs and go off on a holiday or go sit in the Himalayas, but we still need to be part of the active life. We are part of this world. We have to still earn our keep. So, having said that, I did have to, very shortly, what I looked at was, looked at what could contribute to me based on my personality, because each one of us are different. For somebody, it'd be the gym. For me, it would be meditation. For me, it would be a 5 kilometer walk. It could be different for different people. So what worked for me was journaling. I started off simple steps with journaling every morning, putting pen to paper on my frustrations, whatever I was angry with, or angry with myself, angry at life, complaining, all of that. I would just write on that paper every morning. That helped me a lot. And I would look forward to journaling. And that's a habit that I've been doing for 3 years now, very dedicatedly. And before that, I would like to say the important thing is committing to yourself and having some sort of discipline and being kind to yourself as well, being flexible. Okay, I don't feel like journaling today. Okay, I'm not going to journal. I'm accountable for myself and the actions that I take. So it's okay if I don't go for a walk today. It's fine. But it's there on my list of things to do. So it is accountability in the sense that I say, okay, today I didn't go for a walk. Tomorrow I'm going to go for a walk and see if I can do that extra 1 kilometer. And if I don't do that extra 1 kilometer, it's fine. So journaling, meditating, short meditations. If I'm in the mood, I do long meditations.
How long do you
Taking up
normally go?
with meditations, 1.5 hours. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. All right.
Yeah. It's a guided meditation. So with Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's called the pineal gland meditation. I enjoy it. But that needs a lot of commitment, not to be disturbed, and a lot of other things. So if I can, there are shorter meditations. I do that. And if I get bored, there's one other thing as humans, I very easily get bored with things. So if I've got bored of Dr. Joe Dispenza for a week, I look at something else that I can do. So I'm constantly learning and upgrading and keeping it happening in a positive way. So I'm doing different things. So if it means doing a healing course on Akashic records, I would jump into that if that's a calling. So it's just having these few other extra things that keeps me focused on, okay, I'm committed to doing this workshop with Mr. Sanjeev Datta. So I will commit myself to being here. This is taking care of my future career goals. And I'm also doing the other thing. So if I would just relying on this, I would be demotivated. I'm not doing anything, having had such an eccentric, crazy, busy life in the past. So cooking, whatever. There are so many things to entertain ourselves, and it doesn't cost anything if you really want to. So these are a few things that I keep adding on, and things go off my list, and then they come back on my list a few months later. I'm totally fine with it. So that's how I go about it. And I must show acknowledgement here. After I have become more committed to other aspects, like my health thing, I did a medical test after the accountability thing I had with Mr. Sanjeev here, and also about meeting people. I'm not a very social person. After having such a hectic social life, I've went into my own zone, and now I'm slowly opening up, thanks to this course, that it is okay to let a few people in, so that is a big progress. I'm a work in progress. So as of today, this is where I stand. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Very, very well said. Let's all give it up to Ms. Gayatri. You know what I'm also hearing? I'm hearing that in order for you to be able to combat burnout, there is a role to play of your relationship with your own self, right? Whether it comes to self-awareness, like Anis mentioned, whether it comes to taking ownership and accountability of your own life, whether it's following up on the promises that you make to yourself, like Gayatri mentioned. All of these things require a good relationship with yourself. So I think that really should be the first step that all of us are working towards, is that work on your relationship with your own self. When you're constantly telling yourself that I'm going to do something, whether it's going for a walk, going to the gym, meeting new people, whatever it is that helps you recharge. And then every day you don't do it. What are you doing ultimately? You're spoiling that self trust, that relationship with your own self. And I think that is the foundation for everything. So, combating burnout also comes with developing a relationship with yourself where you learn to prioritize yourself, set your boundaries. And yeah, I think that really is the source for everything else. Okay, let's go over to Anise. Anise, anything that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, Anita, you mentioned about energy budgeting. That's a very
Yeah.
good concept. The other way of putting it is identify your energy pilferages. It's the same
Mhm.
same thing. So
Yeah.
identify where your energy is getting wasted. Are you putting too much of effort doing something that's not producing your results? And that in turn is creating undue stress on yourself.
Absolutely.
And if I have to attempt to summarize those 5 Bs that are excellently put by Ahmed, one thing that stands out in those 5 Bs is be flexible. Let's not be
Mm.
rigid. So if I'm not able to do certain things, that's fine as long as I can make up for it the next day or the next week. The more flexible you are with yourself, the more you're giving yourself time to cope up with the situation that you are in. And something that I had mentioned right at the beginning, talking to myself, it really works fine. It helps build self trust. It helps identify the nitty gritties of the situation where I'm in and helps me addressing it. The last thing that I would also talk about is when we are feeling stressed and burned out, are we complaining about it or are we taking action about it?
Excellent.
The more we complain, the more we are putting yourself in a cocoon. It doesn't help you find a solution. So the moment you keep the complaining part aside and you decide to take action that's bothering you, that's when things start uh, working out for you. And as Gayatri mentioned, reprioritizing yourself is so very important.
Absolutely correct. An excellent point. Where are you complaining or are you doing something about it? Some people love to marinate in their misery. They just love to complain every single day and then not do anything about it. And then it becomes fatiguing for the person that's listening to them because misery loves company. So, what we've got to learn, as Anise said, is to spot the emotional leakages in your life, right? Just because something isn't your job doesn't mean it's not draining you. Whether it's office politics, whether it's unspoken expectations, whether it's even, being the go to listener for everyone, where everybody, you love to be the go to person, but that also means that you're carrying other people's emotional baggages with you. Right. So you've got to learn to talk to yourself, journal, like Gayatri said, and track these things, track these leakages, and set those boundaries as well. Right. And as Ashwini also said, you've got to move from a victim mentality to a solution oriented mentality. Otherwise, you'll never get over it. Right. Okay. Who have I not spoken to? Mr. Hemant. I know you did mention your strategies before, but we'd love for you to summarize it and, put a nice little bow on it.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity once again, Anika. For me to overcome this stress is getting good rest, plan ahead, schedule as per priority. Do not postpone things that we tend to do. We may have too many things on the list, but even if you are able to knock off few of them, the bigger ones, I think that's the day achieved. And we can also always keep things that are within our reach. Let's say for tasks which are very simple, easy, that can be done in 2 to 3 minutes. Let's do it then and there. That will definitely help us to knock off most of the things that we would like to complete. So
Right.
that will help us to overcome these fatigues and burnouts.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of professionals make this mistake, and I will tell you, most of you will be able to relate to it, is that you log, you work your butt off Monday to Friday, and then you use the weekends to recover. We think that it's a very good strategy, that you're absolutely draining yourself for 5 days, sleeping the entire day on Saturday, and then doing your chores on Sunday, and you think that's okay. But what's really happening, my friends, is that you're not breaking the cycle. You're just delaying it. You really do have to practice these 5 Bs, now 6, with Anis adding in be flexible. You really have to practice these 5 or 6 Bs every day, which is bonding with people every day, taking breaks every day, setting your boundaries every day, maybe learning how to breathe every day, and burning calories, which is some sort of movement every day. This is an everyday concept. If you're just recharging on the weekends, you're just delaying burnout. And you know what? Inspired by all of you in our class from yesterday, I did make my own acronyms. So let's see how that worked out. Let's see if you all approve. Okay, I did recharge. So R, rituals of recovery, like sleeping, micro breaks, like Swati said, movement, going to the gym, yoga, whatever. So R is rituals of recovery. E is emotional boundaries, learning when to say no. C is clarity on roles and your values. You need to know what you're standing for. You need to know what you're doing, because so much energy is spent on when there's no clarity as to what you're achieving every day. H, hobbies outside work. A, ask for support. That's something we've recently learned and discovered together, which is to ask for support, ask for help when you need it. R, reflective journaling or coaching, inspired by Gayatri. G, guard your inputs. This is something that I personally believe in. Guard the kind of negativity, the toxicity, even the news that you let into your life and your mental space. So guard your inputs, guard what kind of information you're taking in. And E, energy management or energy regulation. That's what we just spoke about. So that was my recharge for all of you. What did you think? I'd love to know your. Okay, everybody approves. I'm so happy. All right. Let me see if I can post it actually. Sure. Have I written it anywhere? Okay. So with that, I think we can, end this podcast. And if there's one thing that I hope all of you take away from today's conversation, it is this. You don't need to wait for a breakdown to take burnout seriously. That's the one thing I need you to take away from today, because most people only start paying attention when the fatigue gets unbearable and the motivation disappears or their health takes a hit. But by that time, your body and mind are asking for recovery, not prevention, right? So burnout is not about working too much. It's about working in ways that drain you without giving anything back, right? And if what you've heard today, viewers, has resonated with you even a little bit, don't ignore that inner nudge. We invite you to book a 1:1 personality consultation with one of our trained experts. It is a 30-minute session where we walk you through your personality blueprint, help you understand your strengths and roadblocks better. The session costs $4.99, and the link to book that is right below. You don't need to be in crisis to explore yourself. In fact, the most successful professionals are the ones who regularly stop, assess, and realign themselves before things start falling apart. This is Anika Datta signing off.